The story of the survivors isn't really a story of remarkable people, but it's rather a story of how remarkable people can be.
In December 1945, President Truman signed an emergency declaration that allowed 1,000 survivors of the death camps into the United States. 2 of those 1,000 people wound up living here at 103 Orchard Street. Kalman and Regina Epstein lost their first families at Bergen-Belsen. They met at Zilsheim, a displaced persons camp in Germany after the war. They wound up living here. When the museum bought this building, it didn't know what role they played. We're in a position now to tell the story of how survivors made new lives in this space. No one else tells those stories.
Looking at the lives of Kalman and Regina, it's important to remember what they had gone through in the war years. We cannot imagine what it would be like to lose everything that you worked for all your life. To have lost your parents, your grandparents, your spouse, your child, your house, your property, your business, everything, and to have absolutely nothing left.
There is a sadness that pervades the survivor generation. They start new families, they have children, they share that dream of possibility, but they have children who won't have grandparents. And yet there is extraordinary resilience to this story.
We moved here, my whole family, my mother, my father, me and my sister in 1956, and it was a step up. They came from Poland, from Germany, from the other side. Your real home, you always think of as your first home, your roots where you started. This would be my home. If I close my eyes, I can still smell it. It's the smell of peeling linoleum, it's the smell of your food cooking, it's the smell of herring on your hands. I loved it.
The Lower East Side wasn't a predominantly Jewish neighborhood by the 1940s and 50s any longer, but there was an infrastructure of Jewish aid organizations, the synagogues, that and the proximity of relatives and the availability of services were the factors that drew them to particular spaces.
In the exhibit, we'll use objects as sparks for stories. The objects link us to the past, they link us to the memories, and they also, in many cases, are objects that we can identify with. And so telling stories through these objects and through these memories allow us to see subtly the things that actually help us understand the city and the country in a broader way.
My father bought a record player that he used to play Yossel Rosenblatt albums on. And he would say, oh, a Stimme, that means a voice, what a voice he has, what a voice he has. And then when my father wasn't using the record player, I had gotten my mother to buy me a record, and it was Paul Anka. Oh, please stay by me, Diana. I'm so young and you're so old. That was the song. I mean, that was it. That made me an American. Just what they say, 'cause forever I will.
The museum has a long history of telling the story of the great tide of European and particularly Jewish immigration. We will be the only museum that tells the story of how Holocaust survivors brought their dreams to this country, how they made their homes here, how they enriched our people, and how they gave us a more confident sense of how the United States once again could welcome those seeking new lives to these shores.